Hey, Foot Clan, before we start today's show, I want to say a big thank you to all our JoinTheFoot.com supporters, and if you have not checked it out, this is your personal invitation to all listening to this show right now. Go check out JoinTheFoot.com. It's a way for you to get personally invested with this show, help support it, keep it going, and get all kinds of perks involved with the fantasy footballers. It's Wednesday. You know what that means? Rankings are going up. But over at JoinTheFoot.com, we have our premium weekly projections. We have our premium weekly flex rankings. You get an extra show. You get discounts on all the fantasy footballers gear, all kinds of things, as well as the best fantasy football community in the universe. So head over to JoinTheFoot.com and check it out.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Back in business.
I was going to start the show and psych everybody out, but
Smells like Oreos and hippie beards in here.
yeah.
You guys happy to have me back, or are you daddy's home?
Hey, we held it down, my man.
You did a good job.
Barely. I missed you. I had to deal with this guy.
I mean,
I love you, Mike.
you had 1/3 less time to think about your grammar, but you held up.
Thank you.
Good job, Jason. Mike, you held down the fort on this side of the desk.
Yeah, we did all right.
So happy to be back.
We
Happy to be
survived.
back. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I have not missed a show before. And so that was, I may or may not have been sitting on the beach refreshing my podcast app with my family.
You and the rest of the listeners.
Right,
Like,
right.
Why is the show a little bit late?
Yeah, actually, the first thing I saw on YouTube was, you always have the guy that the comment, first.
Yeah.
The first guy said, late.
Yeah. I'm
That's
not
all right.
quite as fast at the video editing as Andy.
It was a two-man operation.
I know. You guys did well. I was very impressed. You even had good advice.
What? That's never happened.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. I'm Andy, joined by Jason and Mike. We're back again. It's Wednesday, and we've got a mailbag show today. We have Keep, Trade, Cut, all of the latest news and notes, and we're previewing the Thursday night affair between the Broncos and the Chargers. And we're going to get your fantasy teams ready for Week 6. What?
Week 6.
It
Let's
just-
do it.
It
Hey,
snuck up on me because I was, out of town for Week 5. Oh, by the way, I did notice one thing you omitted while I was gone. It's kind of important.
What, your victory over me?
That's where I was going.
Sure.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Jason?
I was just going to say, Week 6 is that time of the year where you feel like it's too late for your team.
It's not.
And it's not. Like, there is so
So last year, this is perfect, right?
Yeah.
Last year, I started off 1-4 in our league of record, and went the distance, lost a couple more, made the playoffs, had a great season at 1-4.
You should have won the championship if you didn't have to play me,
right. And solid point. I'll give you that one. This year, guess who's 1-4 again?
You going for it?
I'm 1-4.
You coming back to
I'm
the
all in,
playoffs?
baby. I'm always all in. I'm all in at 1-4 because you know what? Here's one of the illusions that takes place that people don't understand. When you're 1-4 and you're listening to this podcast and you're paying attention to the news and the teams and the players and everything going on in your league, because for goodness sakes, I have seen some 1-4 teams that have amazing players on them. We've got one in our league. The Lev Bell, AJ Green team is 1-4 because bad breaks, bad scoring. You go up against Big Ben on the big week or Julio or whatever. Here's what happens. Other teams that are, 2-3, 1-4, 0-5, maybe they start selling. All of a sudden, your competition in that league goes from 12 teams to 4 teams you're going to beat automatically, pretty much, because they're selling pieces and you're not. It gets you a chance to be in there. And if you're making, 4 teams, 6 teams make the playoffs, come on, stay in it. Make some smart trades right now, and teams are going to think that you're not going to be in it. So 1-4, I'm in it. I'm going for it. I've got trade offers out there right now, and so I'm in. I'm in for the long haul. Mike is too. I know he just made a big time trade in our league as well. So quick question for the day, guys: which 3 running backs have the most receptions so far in 2016?
I have, ironically, I have 3 guys that come to mind immediately, so I'll just say them. DeMarco Murray, I feel like, has to be there.
Yeah,
he's catching a ton.
I'd go with DeMarco Murray.
Theo Riddick
I
is
completely agree.
He led the league last year.
Ding.
Okay. I
we
was
have
like,
two.
and then the other guy, because
By
we just
default?
talked about the mark of the beast. I guess the 6 catches 3 weeks in a row.
I think it's just 6 targets.
No.
Is
He
it?
had 6 catches.
I'm gonna verify that.
I laughed at that. Yeah, it was 6
So
catches.
I'm gonna go below Powell. That was the third guy.
I'm gonna
Do
go.
I get a ding?
I'm gonna go
You
with.
do not.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with David Johnson.
Ooh.
All right, good guess. Not right. You guys got 2 or 3 though. Gio Bernard is the third.
Makes sense.
Yes.
He had
So
that.
I think Gio and Theo and Gio, they are the 2 that you kind of expect, and then DeMarco is obviously having a wonderful year. I've still been.
DeMarco's gonna have to change his name so they can rhyme.
I want to
Yeah.
go trade for DeMarco,
With
but
Theo and Gio.
I find myself having to overcome the fact I want to go trade for DeMarco. Like that is still. It's absolutely
get
worthy.
over it. He's a
I know,
beast.
I know. All right, if you want to find us on Twitter, we are we're there at the FF Ballers. You can follow me at Andy Holloway, Jason at JasonFFL, and Mike at FF Hitman. Check out the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. We have articles going up all the time, including today the snap count observation article. Always a great read over at thefantasyfootballers.com. And as alluded to before the show, check out our community at jointhefoot.com. It's the best over there. We're going to be posting a lot of new stuff all of the time. We've got our game day alerts that are up there on Sunday morning as well. So check it out. Support the show. We're an independent year-round fantasy football podcast, and we're trying to help you win your league and enjoy it as well.
And
so let's
enjoy your life.
and enjoy your life. Yes, because fantasy. My son walked in this morning.
Fantasy is life.
My son walked in this morning. He said, "Hey, Dad." I said, "What?" He goes, "Add me to your fantasy team." And I said, I just kind of like teased it out. I wanted to see if he wanted to be a member of the actual team.
That's what I was going
Yeah.
for.
And so I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Yeah, add me to your team." I go, "Add." He goes, "Oh no, not like a player. Add me as a manager."
Okay, he wants to
I want
co-own.
in. And then I go, "Oh, you do? You want to play?" And he goes, "Yeah." Then I'll listen to the podcast and I'll do whatever you say.
Say,
It's
why
like-
aren't you listening already, son?
Right. My 7-year-old who doesn't have an iPod. All right, let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
49ers new starting quarterback is Colin. I don't know this guy. Kaepernick.
We're taking a trip to
Kaepernicker.
obvious land.
Yeah, well, he's the quarterback now, but you know why he wasn't?
Why is that?
Because his contract was guaranteed for injury next year for $17 million.
Oh, yes.
So they reconfigured his contract to the fact that now he'll probably be a free agent, and so they can go out there and just throw the season away.
I actually think this is a great move to restructure that contract, because what it says for Kaepernick now is that he is truly playing for a contract. He basically put himself into a contract year, whether he's auditioning for other teams. So, a little extra motivation there. Do you I think Kaepernick is a streamable candidate on the right weeks, personally, because he can get it done on the ground.
I would be throwing the could be in front of that, because last time we saw Kaepernick on the field, he was as far from streamable as possible. He was unless you were in an all interception league, in which case he was the number 1 quarterback. I mean, he was terrible, and we haven't seen it. So I'm not going to go out and say, yeah, he's a streamable candidate yet. Because
I think a decent portion of his struggles last year were because the head coach was a car mechanic, and now I think Chip Kelly
he's more of a
he's more of an offensive,
Tom Sula.
Yeah, well, haven't seen it. Not going to stream him, but you can if you want to. Jets are planning on putting wide receiver Eric Decker on the IR. In fact, that happened this morning, and so he's going under the knife. Surgery for Eric Decker. Unfortunate. The only way you can stop him from scoring every Sunday is putting him on IR, and still there's
that might not stop him.
50-50 chance. So Enunwa, rest of season ranking for Enunwa goes up. I think you will eventually. I mean, I'm going to throw this out there. Not telling you to do it yet. Just pay attention. Like Cam Meredith, pay attention. Austin Seferian-Jenkins' involvement in the offense could begin to be a weekly thing. He got involved a little bit last week. Obviously, Brandon Marshall's there, and he's going to have those targets, and he's going to go beat people to the to the high point and come down with receptions no matter how many guys that are on him. But just saying, pay attention to ASJ.
Yeah,
because I don't know if Enunwa can be consistent enough. That's my problem with Enunwa. So
Do you upgrade Brandon Marshall?
I do. I think that there's just more targets, specifically more red zone targets that will go Brandon Marshall's way just by a hair. And he's already used to having the best coverage on him.
Yep.
So I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, oh, now they roll 4 people on Brandon Marshall.
I mean, it's just how you felt when you knew Decker wasn't playing the last couple of weeks about Brandon Marshall extended over the season. I mean, he's the guy. So Justin Forsett has landed with the Lions.
Hey.
It's the right home.
Yeah.
It seems. I mean,
It's a good landing spot for him because the Lions use pass-catching running backs. Even their first and second down, when Amir Abdullah was in there, he was involved in the receiving game, and that's where Justin Forsett, I think, can really show his skill set. He's probably worth a stash if you've got a mediocre bench. I'm not rushing out to sign him by any means.
Asiata or Forsett.
Asiata.
Yeah, I think I would go Asiata as well, despite the fact that he's on bye right
You have weekly touchdown potential with
Duke
Asiata.
Johnson over Forsett.
now. Oh, yeah, Duke Johnson.
Bilal Powell, Forsett.
Yes.
Bilal Powell, yes.
Okay, so this is more.
And I looked it up because I was curious. Bilal Powell, 4th in receptions for running backs.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So there you go. Karlos Williams signed to the practice squad of the Steelers. This is news because his name is Karlos Williams and he used to matter. Trevor Siemian, game time decision for week 6. It looks like he's going to start on Thursday. This is good. I mean, Paxton Lynch struggled last week. You know, the Chargers, I believe, are 31st against the run. You'd expect this to be a game where you see C.J. Anderson heavily involved.
Yes.
That being said, Devontae Booker, touch-wise, has been catching up on him, and last week specifically had 4 receptions, which I think is not necessarily extremely concerning for C.J. Anderson owners, but the more trust they have in Booker, the more breaks they're going to give C.J.
I just wanted to throw out real quick on the Karlos Williams. I think that's bigger news for dynasty leagues.
Okay.
That D Will is not long for the
No, that's fair.
for the
Yeah,
league.
I agree.
And Carlos could be
And D. Will
groomed.
has a knee injury right now
Yeah.
that he's dealing with.
Very fair. You guys aren't Fitzgerald Toussaint lifers, huh?
no.
Mike Tomlin did say, like Mike just alluded to, D. Will dealing with the knee injury. We've got Sammy Watkins news. They say he doesn't need a second surgery on the foot.
Wait. Is that what the news was?
Yeah, Dr. Robert Anderson determined Watkins does not need a second surgery. He could return in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So do you
Did you invent some different news?
Yeah, I thought I saw the breaking news that he was getting surgery.
No.
no.
That'd be Eric Decker.
Dyslexia!
So
Yeah, well.
Well, so now the question: do you stash Sammy Watkins on your bench?
I mean, what are you going to do?
In hope.
Are you going to play him in week 16? I mean, no, I don't stash him. I mean, I stash him in – I mean, he's owned in any dynasty keeper, so I don't know. I don't think this is news. Week 16, I mean, you're talking about – that's championship.
Well, no, it's not week 16.
Sorry,
it's
6 weeks.
Six
so that
more
would be,
weeks. So week 12.
Okay.
It would be very, very
you could
difficult
get a playoff
to have
run.
him.
Yeah, no,
It would-
I guess I would. I guess I
I
would.
still think it would be very difficult to have him come in. Let's say he comes back in week 13. That's your week 1 of your playoffs. Are you going to start him?
I had week 16 in my head because that was when Lane Johnson can return and that news about his suspension being
yes.
upheld. So would you start him?
Lane Johnson?
No. Well, I mean, would you start Watkins? Maybe. If a couple weeks go by and he looks okay. But
Yeah, absolutely if he comes back.
here's
and
what
he's
I do,
healthy.
though. I mean, here's the story. If they are not competitive at the end of the year, why in the world would they put him out there?
But
Seriously.
they're winning right now.
All right. Steve Smith is expected to be out in week 6 against the Giants. Who's the beneficiary on that?
Kamar.
Kamar Aiken.
Kamar Aiken.
Yeah.
It's finally time.
Oh, whatever. All right. Jonathan Stewart is going to play this week. Do we expect a full workload for Jonathan Stewart against the Saints? Because that's a great matchup.
Yeah, if he starts, I would fully expect it. 20 carries probably coming up.
Really?
Yeah.
First week back.
All right,
right.
I would
Sure.
think so.
I mean, you've seen
Cam
him.
should be back. Stewart should be back. This is season turnaround time for the, 1-5?
1 and
1 and 4.
1-4, I
yeah.
mean. 1-4 Carolina Panthers.
The math is running real slow these days.
Palmer is back.
Yep.
Carson Palmer is
he's gonna
expected
play.
to play.
Yep.
He plays the Jets on Monday. Passing D and the Jets have not been good.
Very good news for all 3 Cardinals wide receivers. Not that you're going to start Michael Floyd for trust reasons, but Larry Fitzgerald, John Brown, I think are good plays.
Charlie Whitehurst has been cut.
Oh, again.
What do they call him? Clipboard Jesus is gone. Mike Wallace was wearing a non-contact jersey on Wednesday's practice.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say that this is something to monitor because I believe I had thought when Steve Smith was out that the biggest beneficiary would actually be Mike Wallace. I feel like the defense ends up coming in more, trying to stop the run more, and then you've got that long bomb opportunity for Wallace. Plus, you have the fact that Joe Flacco, was being the squeaky wheel saying, why aren't we throwing it downfield more? And then they changed their offensive coordinator. So, monitor this because if Mike Wallace is actually hurt, if he's,
Mike Wallace is the 16th ranked fantasy wide receiver right now. He hasn't scored since week 2, and he really hasn't been a long bomb guy at all with 41, 34, 44, and 63 yards on, a variety of catches.
I agree with
It
Jason.
will be interesting if the offensive coordinator allows Flacco to take advantage of his arm or whether it just goes the running game. So that'll be, like Jason said.
I think both go up.
We shall see. We shall see. So it's time to play.
Keep, trade, cut.
All right, keep, trade, cut, Phillip Dorsett.
Oof. I mean, there's judging from the waivers, the wide receiver waiver of this week, there's a lot of guys like Coates, Hogan, even probably
Cam Meredith.
I cut Phillip Dorsett.
I agree.
So
Dorsett, since Moncrief's out, 1 catch, 3 catches, 1 catch, 2 catches.
Yeah, it's been very disappointing for Dorsett.
Terrible. So definitely not a guy that they're leaning on there. I'd cut him. We all agree. Lamar Miller, keep, trade, cut.
I'm keeping him.
I'm definitely keeping him. I'm also trading for him.
Yeah.
But, Andy, you would not trade for him. Am I correct by your facial expression?
No. And that's because the price for Lamar Miller is the price that people paid in the draft.
I would say the price is down. Judging from the Twitter feedback I'm getting, people are panicked. They want to sell Lamar Miller.
If you want to pay wide, if you can get him for a running back 2 value, then I'm fine trading for him.
Yeah.
That's
why I said
yet to score on the season. Obviously, Minnesota game is a bit of an outlier, so if you can buy low on Lamar Miller after a 3-point game with only 8 carries, that's fine. I'm just kind of surprised at the beginning of the season, and maybe it's one of those things that we say, look, like with Amari Cooper this past week, right?
There's positive regression coming.
Yeah, I mean, with Amari Cooper, my contention about him being, start of the week, the guy that you need to pay attention to is that things even out. And I was reading, he entered week 5 with more touches without a touchdown through 4 games than anybody in modern NFL history.
They're coming.
So
they're coming. Just hold tight.
There you go. So now you got another week without him scoring, only 1 catch. So, yeah, I think you have no choice but to keep Lamar Miller. Travis Benjamin, keep, trade, cut.
Ooh, I trade. I
Yeah.
wait until a big week like he just had, 7 for 117, and I trade. The reason is because with Travis Benjamin, Tyrell Williams, and Dontrell Inman, I don't have trust.
And Gates and Henry.
Right, and Gates and Henry. They're going to have good games. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're bad or they're not valuable.
You just better
for
get
fantasy.
lucky.
Exactly. I've never been one, despite the fact that I own DeSean Jackson in our league of record, I've never been one to own those types of players where you can get that big boom game or you can get completely, you can crap your team.
Keep, trade, cut, DeSean Jackson.
I'll say for the Chargers, they do have Denver this week and again in 2 weeks.
Trade.
So trade him while you can.
DeSean Jackson.
You can't trade him. I've been trying.
Um,
I'm telling you, I would love to trade him.
Here's a surprise. 2 very nice weeks. 3 single-digit weeks. Ho-hum, 42nd ranked wide receiver. I would, if you can't trade DeSean Jackson,
you keep him.
I would cut DeSean Jackson.
No.
Yeah, I would.
Really?
Yes, because I think there are other. Would you cut DeSean Jackson for Sammie Coates? Yes.
Yes.
I would do that.
Sure.
What about Jeremy Curley?
No.
Yeah.
You would rather have Jeremy Curley than DeSean
Well,
Jackson?
no. I'll
So
say no because the quarterback changing is happening right now.
Let me just give a little narrative on DeSean Jackson, okay? So he starts the year out as clearly, he had a great 102 yards, 6 receptions, good game. 2 weeks later, 96 yards with a touchdown. He was one of the top wide receivers. Cleveland comes up. Well, they just destroyed Cleveland so early with touchdowns to Jordan Reed, so you don't need him. And then last week, we said right at the beginning of the week or right before the games, those crosswinds were crazy. 25-mile-an-hour crosswinds on the field. You're not throwing it down the field to DeSean Jackson, and he had a bad game. I think it would be too early to cut him personally.
I just don't like the schedule. You got Philly, then you got you have a good game at Detroit on the road, Cincy, bye, Minnesota. I don't know. I think I would cut him.
I'm going to wait till he'll blow up and then try to trade him.
I'm not opposed to cutting him, but he's not a must-cut.
What do you guys do with
C.J.
C.J. Anderson right now? Keep trade, cut C.J. Anderson. He has been disappointing. If you're expecting those big RB1 numbers, there's just not been consistency at the quarterback position, obviously. What do you guys do with C.J. Anderson? People want to know. People, a friend of mine wants to know.
I think you keep him if you can trade him for the value where, the week 1 and 2 value where he's getting 20 carries, he's getting a touchdown, he's getting it done, and he looks like a top 5 back, then I would capitalize on that value. It's going to be hard to find someone to take that when the last 3 weeks he's had 37 yards, 49 yards, and 41 yards. So, I think he's a value play. I would love to have C.J. Anderson on my team. So I guess that says,
C.J. Anderson and Lamar Miller.
Miller.
I would rather have Miller.
But here's the thing. I talked about San Diego's schedule. They have to play Denver twice. You know what that means? Denver gets to play San Diego twice in the next 3 weeks, including this week. So that means C.J. Anderson should have a great game this Thursday. He plays San Diego again in 2 weeks.
7 touchdowns given up to the running back position in 5 weeks by San Diego, including 6 of those in the last 3 weeks.
He has Oakland after that. It's a division game. I think Oakland is beatable. And then he gets to play the Saints. And then he has a bye week. And then he plays Kansas City, who has not been good against the run. I mean, I'm trying to get C.J. Anderson right now, personally.
All right. We're taking a break for a second?
Yeah, let's thank our sponsor of today's show, Pristine Auction. Look, you've heard us talk about Pristine Auction. If you haven't heard us talk about them, well, welcome to the party. Pristine Auction is the place to get every signed sports memorabilia product you can even dream of. And not just sports.
Incredible price.
Entertainment, movies. Some of the times when I tell people what we won things in this studio for, they don't even believe it. It doesn't cost you anything to bid on these items, so go check them out at Pristine Auction, Pristine Auction. And look, they've got daily auctions. I went today to look to see what they had, and usually they've got, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, all these cool fantasy guys that are relevant right now. You can get a signed jersey. On today's auctions, I went and I was like, ooh, there's this cool, super custom framed signed jerseys for Emmitt Smith and Joe Montana and Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly. It's like, anything you want, it's on there. You got to check them out. They're awesome gifts. They're awesome for decking out your living room. Pristine Auction, Pristine auction.com, and make sure you tell them that the Fantasy Footballer sent you.
We also want to take a second and thank today's sponsor, the 5-4 Club. You've heard me talk about them. I was a 5-4 Club member for many, many months before we ever got hooked up with them on the show and they started supporting the show. Because I like getting hooked up for $60 a month. I don't have to think about the clothes. I don't have to go and, as far as dressing myself, as far as going to the mall and trying to fight through these stores and then try stuff on and then have some salespeople that are over in the corner lurking in their nice outfits looking at me make bad decisions. Look, 5-4 Club is the best. Like I said, you get a ton of value. You get $120 of clothing every month for only $60 to help you look good. And there are profiles on the website, whether you're looking for clothes for the office, for the club, for a lazy weekend, whatever it is, 5-4 has you covered. Here's something cool. They have free shipping, direct delivery to your doorstep. And if you want to find out how easy it is to use 5-4 Club, you go to 54club.com, use the promo code BALLERS. At sign up, you get 50% off your first month of 5-4 Club packages. That's promo code BALLERS for 50% off the first month of 5-4 Club packages. Offer expires at the end of October, so hurry up. Check out 5-4 Club. Let's do a couple more keep trade cuts.
Hit the breaking news button.
Breaking news.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler is reporting Sammie Coates has a sizable cast on his left hand. That's bad news. Oh, the waivers have gone through, so I probably just blew all my money.
Wow. That was simultaneous with our waivers in our league. And did you spend big on Mr. Coates?
I did. I don't know if I got him.
I'll tell you in 3.
Sammie
2.
Coates went for $32.
That means I got him.
You.
I got him.
Do you know that the next highest bid was $31?
Yeah!
Wait,
That's how you do it.
Well,
wait, why
but-
are you excited about that?
you just gotta
That was
cap-
really weird.
Because, look, I wanted. No, I'm still. The cast is whatever for this week. This is long term for Coates. But when you pay
That was
up.
so weird.
No.
it makes sense because he bid the
I bid a
exact
lot.
correct amount. You always want to bid $1 more.
Like, I
than
could have
whoever
been you bidding $20 on Cameron Brate last week, and then no one else places a bid. Were you excited about that?
No,
But if someone bid 19, you would have been ecstatic.
I would have been happier.
Yeah.
Thus, my reaction.
Not if Cameron Brate had a cast on his arm simultaneously.
That's I'm not. Maybe this ends up being a season ender, and I just threw $30 away. But I'm very happy.
How hard
that
is
he's
it
on my
for
team.
a guy with no hands to catch with a cast?
Well,
Who's
he
not-
already had
yeah.
no hands, so
Can he catch with his teeth?
Big
So
Ben will try.
that's big time news. I mean, a bunch of people spent money on Sammie Coates, and for that to break right now, do you have any other information?
no. There's no follow up blurb. I will investigate while you move forward with the keep trade cut.
Okay, let's do a couple more. Keep trade cut. What would you do with Eddie Royal right now?
Eddie Royal, to me, he's a cut-worthy candidate. I think he's a fine play as well. He's kind of a keep or cut, depending on your team needs, depending on who's on waivers. I was going to say I'd rather have Coates than Royal, but probably not.
Well, so it seems like it's just a laceration. So if he just has a cut, then
With
maybe
That's a big deal.
with Eddie
yeah.
Royal, to me, to get back to that, I think he's a guy that you're going to want to watch the practice reports this week, right? Because he missed all of practice. It's almost, for a guy to miss every single practice and play, almost never happens. That's very, very rare, and he did it last week. He still got plenty of work, right? He got 7 receptions like the week prior, but he only got 43 yards. He wasn't healthy, and so monitor the reports this week. If he's healthy, he's probably still a good play.
yeah, he's all right. I mean, you have the emergence of Cam Meredith also to deal with.
You guys have seen the play with Hoyer missing Alshon Jeffery in the end zone.
Yes.
I think from what I see from actual Bears fans, they want Jay Cutler bad.
Really?
They really do. Yeah, they really want Jay Cutler. They have. I've seen a lot of tweets from Bears fans saying, "Look, the numbers are an illusion, right? Brian Hoyer goes out and he's great for fantasy football, but he's missing guys. He's not finding Alshon. He's not throwing the ball. Alshon's been like 3rd or 4th in targets. All he has to do is throw him the ball, and he goes up and gets it. And Cutler means so much to Alshon Jeffrey's fantasy value. They want Cutler back in. They lost last week. The amount of offense they put up and losing, they blame on Hoyer.
Is it Bears fans or Bears fans who have Alshon Jeffrey in their fantasy teams?
No, it's
Well,
Bears
certainly
fans.
those guys.
It's Bears fans. Imagine this, and we went through this in Arizona. It's Bears fans who know what Alshon Jeffrey is as a receiver. Imagine Brandon Marshall's 3rd or 4th in targets. They see that, and they say, what in the world is going on with our offense? Why are you not giving the best player on your offense a chance? And I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if it's people used to speculate about Larry Fitzgerald for contract purposes. Now you've got Alshon Jeffrey in a contract year playing on the franchise tag, and you're not using him?
So, well, to be fair to Brian Hoyer, he's 1-1, correct?
As a starter?
As the starter,
I
he
thought
is
he's-
1-1.
Oh, he didn't start 3 weeks?
No, well, he came in replacement.
Gotcha.
So as the full starter, he's 1-1.
I'm not trying to be unfair with Hoyer. I'm just telling you what I see from
Yeah,
Bears.
no,
If
that's-
I'm wrong, come and tell me. I
Yeah.
mean, if you all want Brian
if you're a Bears fan, I'm genuinely
without a
curious.
fantasy dog in the race.
Right. No fantasy implications. You're a Bears fan. Who do you want as your starter? I curiously want to
curious.
know.
No, I like curious.
Sure.
All right, last guy here. Let's go DeAndre Washington. Keep trade cut.
He's just a handcuff, and a low-level handcuff at that, since the Raiders are going to continue to use 2 to 3 guys if Latavius Murray is back. So
Touches were 50-50, right down the middle between Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington.
Right.
What was disappointing was what he did with those touches, because on the year he had a yards per carry almost 6, and he got 9 touches and only produced 23 yards. That's the real disappointing thing, is you wait for the opportunity, you get the opportunity, and you disappoint.
Yeah, there was a couple of close calls with Washington. He was open on a wheel route on the right side, caught it, but it was pass interference, and that would have been a big gainer. Or I don't know if he caught it. He might not have caught it. That's probably why it wasn't a big gainer, huh? All right, hey, last one, Quincy Enunwa. Would you try to acquire him? Would you trade for him, or do you just status quo with him?
I'd like him on my team, but if there's a advantageous fantasy player who's like, oh, Eric Decker to the IR, Quincy Enunwa's price has gone way up, I'd say, okay, well, I'm moving on then.
Yeah, Enunwa hasn't really done that much in the last 3 weeks. Ironically, when Decker has been out the last 2 weeks, he's been okay. He's gotten 6 catches, 4 catches, 60 yards, 51 yards, no touchdowns. It was really week 1 and 2 where he was super involved, and that was when Decker was in play. So Enunwa is worth picking up, but I wouldn't be trading for him.
All right, we have our Thursday night preview before the mailbag. We got the Broncos going to San Diego to take on the jinxed Superchargers. I mean, they just find a way to lose every week.
Are they jinxed?
There becomes
well, I mean, when you drop a field goal, I mean, when it hits them right in the hands.
Yeah, and I was Tony Romo tweeted out. He said, "See, it's not so easy."
Oh, that's funny.
He didn't actually do that.
Oh, okay. I was really surprised that he would do that, but I was impressed.
That was amazing.
No, and I think what Andy is saying, though, is legitimate, because when you have so many games in a row where you're in the game or you're up in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left and you lose all of them, you start to get – in the fourth quarter, you start to worry it's going to happen again, and that causes it to happen again.
Let's talk about Melvin Gordon in this game. Melvin Gordon has scored in every single game this season. So you talk about taking the touchdown situation from last year and flipping it on its head. 2 in week 1.
He's opposite Lamar Miller right now.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he has 7 touchdowns on the year. Last week he caught one, and but he had problems with fumbled twice in the past 2 weeks in crucial situations. He hasn't been the most efficient running back, but last week he was actually okay on the ground, 16 for 69. I think Melvin Gordon is one of those absolute trustworthy guys. I mean, you're going into week 6 here. I know it's Denver, but the volume of touches is just through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Gordon. I do.
Ever since Danny Woodhead went down, you know that he's going to be involved enough, not just in the running game, but in the passing game, to where he is trustworthy. You lower your expectations against Denver. Look, they've actually been susceptible on the ground to the running back position. Atlanta carved him up quite heavily. Jeremy Hill had a good game against him.
Yeah, I don't reduce any expectations for Gordon.
Oh, I do.
He's at home, and he hasn't needed heavy yardage to be productive. And so if you're talking about efficiency against that defense, look at the numbers. I mean, all he does is get in the end zone, and if they're in the red zone, he scores.
Sure, but the last
they're
3
on the road,
weeks,
by the way.
The last 3 weeks were Indiana, New Orleans, and Oakland. And so, yeah, he scored, but their team was putting up a ton of points. Do you think San Diego is going to –
You're confusing me. You're confusing me because you simultaneously said you temper your expectations, and then you talked about a bunch of teams doing a lot of damage with the running back against Denver. So I'm trying to figure out what you mean, because Denver's 22nd against fantasy running backs.
What I'm saying is that Denver, as they are now, which is not like a top 5, are not nearly
They're not on the road. They're at home.
Denver's on the road.
Yeah. I'm talking about Gordon being at home.
Oh.
Yeah, but here's basically what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the total points that are going to be put up by San Diego against Indiana and New Orleans and Oakland are going to be far higher than the total points they're going to put up against the Denver Broncos. He's been doing most of his damage with touchdowns. And so I'm saying touchdown opportunities are going to be less for Melvin Gordon this week against Denver. So I lower my expectations from what he's done the previous 3 weeks. That's what I'm saying. Is just the red zone opportunities are going to be fewer against Denver than against those prior 3 teams, so in my belief.
We have not finished the rankings yet, but just off of your initial thought process, you still have Gordon as a running back 1.
Yeah, I put him in 11-12 range. Is where I figure he'll follow.
I'm pretty sure he'll be a 2 for me.
He's the 5th ranked running back right now in fantasy, and I know the workload is his.
It's ironic because we seem like we're arguing, but I'll probably have him about 11 or 12. But the last 3 weeks I've had him like 2 or 3.
Right. I was just confused by the what sounded like a bounce back and forth train of thought with the Broncos giving up a bunch of points to fantasy running backs, and you thinking Gordon would be omitted from that is the way it sounded. If they're giving up a bunch, I don't understand.
My Denver giving up a bunch was compared to what your expectation is for Denver, not they're giving up a bunch compared to the rest of the league.
They are, though.
They're 22nd.
That's what I'm saying. 22nd, that's terrible.
I mean, there's 10 teams worse than that.
So you just brought it up. Cincinnati, running backs, 30 points against Denver. Indianapolis, running backs, 28 points against Denver. Atlanta, running backs, 50 points against Denver.
Yeah, we shall see.
So I'm totally cool with Gordon, is my point. Let's look at the quarterback position. You have Siemian expected to start. I don't feel like Phillip Rivers is somebody that you're excited about playing this week.
No, I'm not excited about starting either quarterback, really. Siemian should have a good game, but he's a game-time decision. Your shoulder is an area that would be easy to re-aggravate. It just takes one sack and knocks him out of the game. I just don't have confidence starting either of these guys.
Rivers had a big game last week, and he's one of those guys that it looks like, as long as he has a matchup that's advantageous to him, you can kind of start him and roll him out there. And, the problems we have with Benjamin or Williams or Inman being the focus don't apply to the quarterback, because as long as one of those guys is doing something against him, you're pretty set up. But the Broncos are the third-ranked pass defense, and, they're coming off a loss. They won't have Gary Coobs. So you don't start any of the wide receivers for San Diego.
I think they're okay starts, but they're not. It's not a top option.
I don't think any of them are okay starts. It's been difficult to start top wide receivers. Julio Jones just stunk against Denver. Over the last 2 years, almost every single wide receiver against Denver. There's only one example, and that was Antonio Brown that I can think of, who did well against that Denver Broncos passing defense. I don't start Benjamin or Williams or Inman in this game.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm thinking of, for my flex spot, I'm still okay putting one of them in.
All right, let's. You ready, Mike?
Oh, you caught me in a sip.
I know, so I'm waiting for.
All right.
Mailbag.
Mailbag. Yeah.
Nico in Astoria. By the way, if you have a question for the show, you can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button. Right now, I have way too many running backs when everyone is healthy. I have David Johnson, Jordan Howard, Doug Martin, and Jonathan Stewart. Can you give me some advice on which of these guys I should package in a trade and what caliber of players should I get for my running back?
Yes, my advice would be you should trade absolutely none of those players. Jordan Howard is great. I love him. You still have the questions of when Langford comes back. Doug Martin is currently injured. Jonathan Stewart is supposed to be back this week, but is injury prone. I love your running back core, but there's enough there that makes me go, I want all four of them.
I would trade Jordan Howard.
Sure.
I have Jordan Howard, and I'm looking to trade him. So if you want him, come and get him. And let me tell you why. Jordan Howard is awesome. I think he's a really great player. He plays Jacksonville this week at home. Should be all right. Should be a good game for Jordan Howard. After that, he plays in Green Bay. He plays Minnesota, and then he has a bye week. So you've got these next 3 weeks. If they're crucial, if you're a Howard owner and these 3 weeks are crucial to you getting back into the race, which it is for me, I'm 1-4, and I love Jordan Howard. I think his long-term talent is there. I'm looking to move him right off of a 17 and a 25-point week if I can get some premium value for Jordan Howard that has a better matchup in the next 3 weeks.
I like the concept of trading Jordan Howard right now. I just don't know if I like it for this team.
Yeah.
Because let's say you trade him and Jonathan Stewart doesn't play this week. Well, then you've
hosed.
got one running back. You've literally got David Johnson. And
that's fair, and he's got Jacksonville this week. So I think you can wait a week to trade Jordan Howard, but I just wanted to give the perspective. I actually didn't want to give it because I don't want anybody to know that in my league. But Martellus Bennett. Let's talk about Martellus Bennett. This is from Dan in Pennsylvania. He says he has Gronk and Bennett on his team. Which one do I look to trade, and which good RB trade target exists for these guys? It's Bennett. You trade Bennett.
Yeah, you trade Bennett. And as far as which running back to target, and this is kind of for anybody out there that is wanting to do a trade, you have too many running backs or too many wide receivers. It's not about who you target. It's about whose team you target. Go look at the teams that need a tight end.
Exactly.
And look at their running backs.
Exactly.
That's the only way you're going to get a deal done.
Yeah, absolutely. here's a question for you guys. J-Dog in Seattle says, should I trade Christine Michael for Tevin Coleman? Coleman is player ranked 7 right now, and Wallace should be back within a few weeks. What do you do here? The Mr. J-Dog has a question for you, and he's up in Seattle, which means he probably really wants to keep Christine Michael.
I would not do that trade. I think Christine Michael is the starting running back for the rest of the year.
I feel when it comes to Tevin Coleman, like a new teenager, I am very confused. I'm going through a lot of emotions right now.
New experiences
with Tevin Coleman. I don't know what to make of Tevin Coleman. I don't know if I can trust him or not. I keep going back and forth, convincing myself, like, look, I think he's a weekly start. I think he's okay, and I think he's a great handcuff, maybe the handcuff to own. And then I go, no, you gotta trade him. He's not gonna keep doing this. He hasn't had 50 yards in a week.
I saw a Facebook Live video of Coleman, and he had like one of those flowers, and he was pulling off the petals, and he's going, Jason, does he like me? He likes me not.
He loves me not.
Yeah. You heard Mike's response. I couldn't disagree more. So I would go with Tevin Coleman. I think Coleman's the better rest of season play than Christine Michael. I think Rawls will come back and be very heavily involved. So we are diametrically opposed. Jason, do you have a strong opinion?
I mean, honestly, because I don't know what to make of Tevin Coleman, I can say that right now I would rather have Christine Michael.
Who would you rather bring to the prom?
Christine Michael.
Yeah. All right.
He was great on the show. I like talking to him. He seems like a fun guy to hang out with.
All right. Samuel in New York, should I trade Tevin Coleman for Jeremy Hill?
No. I'd rather have Coleman.
In
this crazy world.
In that one, I completely agree. I would rather have Coleman than Jeremy Hill.
Another trade question from Joel in New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh.
You guys want to talk some trades?
Bonjour.
Hey, guys, love the show. Do I trade my Crowell and Snead for Jamal Charles?
Ooh.
How much work do you see Jamal Charles getting? Look, this is a great question to open up a Charles discussion. So let's answer the trade question, or maybe we talk Charles and then answer the trade question. I don't know. I mean, I thought about trading for Charles this week, and I said I wish I could see the future and know what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, my expectation for Charles is eventually, maybe not this week, maybe not next week, but he will be back in that 60%. You can't give him that 65 to 70% though, with how great Spencer Ware has been, with Charles coming off of another ACL and still not ready for football. But I mean, this is a home run type of a trade where Charles could be, if Charles is back, he is so much greater than Crowell and Snead put together. He has a much larger impact for your team. So I will say, if Crowell is your running back 3, I'll do it.
Right, you're saying if he's not one of your absolute plug and play 2 starters, that makes sense. When I look at Jamal Charles, we talked preseason, like his talent is undeniable. But if you look at how they've brought him along, you could not have brought him along slower. I mean, they come in and he finally plays and they give him like 1 touch.
He wasn't supposed to play that game. Did you know that?
Well, right, but
Char West's injury caused him to play that game. He was going to be held through the bye.
Blown out, so it was, don't let him
makes sense. But my point is, I don't think that he's going to be back and relevant this week. I don't think he's going to be back and relevant the next week. So let's say 3 weeks from now is when he really gets involved heavily. Well, you probably didn't start him that week because you just can't trust it yet. So then you're starting him the following week. Now we're into week 10, and I agree. Maybe for the fantasy playoffs he's okay. But if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs and my team is doing well and I'm in the playoff hunt and I've got a 29-year-old Jamal Charles who's amazing and awesome, I want to keep him healthy, and I can do that with Spencer Ware. So, I mean, I guess my glasses when I look at Jamal Charles and look at what's happened so far in the year, they're not as rosy.
Chiefs are 2-2. I don't think they're going to have the luxury of keeping him back because you have Oakland at 4-1, Denver at 4-1. I think it's going to be tough to do that. I probably temper what you said with a slightly more rosy outlook. I think you will make that decision to not start him this next week, and I think he'll be back after that.
So you're saying 2 weeks?
I think a couple
versus
weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
So then you would trade for him?
Yeah, I would do that trade. I would. I'd take the chance. Unless you were a team that had, Crow's the safer bet as an RB2. But I'd take the chance because what's the worst that's going to happen with Charles? I try to get Ware, but if you had both those guys on your team, much like D-Will and Le'Veon Bell, I think you're going to be okay. All right, let's look at this one. Chiefs receiver question from Ethan in Chicago. They have a good schedule for receivers coming up off their bye week. Should you trade for Macklin or pick up other Chiefs? What do you think about Macklin's rest of the season?
Yeah, the problem with having a good passing schedule is that they're not really a passing team. The volume is not going to be there even in good matchups. This is the schedule that he's referring to, though, which does sound very good. You come off the bye and you got Oakland, New Orleans, Indianapolis, Jacksonville as your 4 weeks. In the playoffs, Atlanta, Oakland, and Tennessee. So they are good matchups. I mean, it's obviously better, no matter what, to have a better matchup than a worse matchup.
Jeremy Macklin is kind of the kid that always disappoints you. If he doesn't score a touchdown, you're always going to be a little bit down on his numbers and not happy with him. And if he scores a touchdown, you'll be happy. But, I mean, in that offense, he's going to be 6 for 68. Oh, okay. Well, he makes you think, well, he was really involved. But he got you like 9.5 points. So you're kind of okay with him, but you mostly wish you had somebody else.
In that Pittsburgh game where they were getting full throttled by a bajillion points before halftime.
A bajillion?
A bajillion. I looked at the scoreboard.
Right.
It broke.
It said B.
They ran out of digits because the Steelers were whooping them so bad. They had to throw every single play in the second half. Jeremy Macklin, 5 for 78. That's the type of game with that garbage. You expect Macklin to come out, get you at least a touchdown, maybe $120. But even in that optimal game script situation, 5 for 78. He just is. He's an okay start, but I'm not making any kind of move to go get him.
Yeah, would you rather have Macklin or Coates rest of the season?
Macklin.
I would rather have Coates.
Says $32.
Well, yeah.
All right, we want to thank 5-4 Club for sponsoring this show as we close it out here. If you want to stand out from the crowd, you got to go check out 54club.com because I hate shopping and they make you look good. So definitely check them out, 54club.com. Use the promo code BALLERS at sign up. You get 50% off your first month of packages at 54 Club. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast, subscribing, leaving us reviews, supporting the show on Twitter at the FF Ballers, and all that you do to make this show awesome. We appreciate it. And we will be back tomorrow previewing the Week 6 matchups. We got our starts of the week.
Ooh.
You know I love that.
Ooh.
You know I love them starts of the week.
That's your favorite show.
It is. It
Mike,
really is.
you got to pick a favorite show here, bro.
Don't tell me what to do. I'll tell you, though. Thank you to FantasyJocks.com where winners go. Promo code footballers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.